Hi, so magandang araw. So this will be the last 2 weeks natin sa MAPE bago matapos ang quarter 1. And for our last 2 weeks, we'll be dealing with Health 8. Ang topic natin sa health would be human sexuality. And ang ating lesson 1 would be the basic terms of human sexuality. Basic terms in sexuality, we have sexuality, sex, gender, and gender equality. So before we go down deeper with this term, so I will let you watch a video about the different kinds of sexuality.
Gender and sexuality is a complicated subject. The concept of males and females, homosexuals and heterosexuals, even bisexuals are common, but few people know that there's a much broader spectrum. Because of a lack of information, many teens have a hard time figuring out their sexual and gender identity. Without a proper education, they can struggle with their identity well into adulthood and even their whole life. Sexualities. Most people know that heterosexuality means to feel sexual attraction to people of the opposite sex. Homosexuality means to feel attraction to people of the same sex, and bisexuality is experiencing sexual attraction to both males and females. But there's more. Pansexual people, also known as omnisexual, can experience attraction to all sexes and gender identities. An asexual person is someone that doesn't experience sexual attraction to any sex or gender at all. However, this doesn't mean that they aren't open to or can't experience romantic attraction. Romantic attraction is a feeling that causes people to desire a romantic relationship with a specific other person that doesn't necessarily involve sex. Heteroromantic, homoromantic, biromantic, panromantic, and aromantic are all types of romantic attraction. And these can be mixed to fit with other types of sexual attraction. An example of this is bisexual and homoromantic. Gender. There's more than just male and female in the gender spectrum. Intersex is when a person is born with both male and female parts, usually having an XXY chromosome. They can choose which gender they would like to be identified as, or they can identify as neither. Non-binary is when a person chooses to identify as neither male nor female, usually taking on different pronouns like she, her, jim, or z, zer, zim. Gender fluid can also fit into the spectrum of gender identities. A person who is gender fluid changes their gender identity that best fits with how they're feeling, changing from male to female to neither. Being cisgendered means you identify as the sex you were born as. Females identify as females, and males identify as males. Transgender and transsexual people identify as a gender different from the biological sex they were born with. So a person born as a female may identify as a male later in life, and vice versa. While the two terms can be used interchangeably, transsexual usually refers to someone who has changed their appearance and undergone a sex change, while a person who identifies as transgender usually changes their appearance only. This is not to be confused with drag, which is a performance art. How-tos. Sexuality is loose, and labels like these are here to help people feel comfortable or like they have a place to belong. An important tip to remember is if you aren't sure how a person identifies, just ask. Appropriate pronouns are important to everyone. If you aren't sure, a safe way to go is using them, they pronouns. Say you have a friend or know someone that falls under one of these sexualities or gender identities, and you aren't sure how to treat them. One easy way to respect someone's sexuality and gender is to never assume anything. Just because someone who identifies as bisexual is dating someone of the opposite sex, that doesn't mean they're suddenly straight. This applies to every sexuality. Help and information. It's common for people to have a hard time figuring out who they are. If you're in a situation like this, that's okay. Getting love and support from your friends and family is one of the most important things about finding yourself and your identity. Counseling is another option if you're having trouble. Online support groups can help you connect to other people who are dealing with similar challenges. If you still find yourself in a slump, Eating right, exercising, and doing things that make you happy can help you through your confusion. For
Yan. So, nakita niyo naman napakadami ng terms sa human sexuality. Okay? So, meron tayong sexuality, meron din tayong romantic, okay? And then we also have the gender. Okay? So, I hope you consider or yung mga natutunan nyo regarding sa different terms ng human sexuality ay ginat down nyo or sinulat nyo sa inyong mga notebook. Okay? So, above all, respeto lang yon sa bawat isa. Okay? So now, let's go now to our topic, basic terms in sexuality. Now, sexuality is an integral part of what we do and who we are, and as a total expression of individual self-concept. It involves the physical, mental, social, emotional, and ethical dimensions of one's personality. It refers to your total self. Okay? Yun yung sexuality. Okay? So there are two terms for sexuality. Yung term na una, yung diniscuss dun sa video. Ito naman, sexuality, it refers to your total self. Next would be sex. Now, sex is the biological basis of being male or female. Pag sinabi natin biological basis, ito yung kung anong biological function, anong reproductive system na meron ka, yun yun. Okay? It's the basis natin sa pagiging lalaki or babae. It's also a major aspect of personality. Now, gender is a social concept of how men and women should think, feel, and act. Pag sinabi natin gender, social concept or social norm sa isang society. Paano ba dapat ang isang lalaki umaarte? Paano ba ang isang babae dapat umaarte? Okay? Ano ba dapat ang pag-iisip ng isang babae? Ano ba ang pag-iisip ng isang lalaki? Ano ba dapat ang mga lalaki at ano ba ang mga babae sa isang society? Okay? It refers to the femininity and masculinity of a person's role and behavior. So, pag sinabi nating femininity, yung mga gawain ba ay pang feminine or yung mga gawain ba ay pang masculine? Okay? So, usually, pag sinabi nating femininity, ito yung mga gawaing pambahay. Okay? Pag masculine naman, ito yung mga nagbubuhat. Okay? Yung mga gawaing panlalaki at gawaing pambabae. Gender equality permits men and women equal enjoyment of human rights. So, yung gender equality, yung lalaki at babae daw parehas, okay? Parehas na ine-enjoy ang human rights. So, ngayon sa society natin ngayon, unti-unti nang natatanggap ang mga yung mga gawain ng panlalaki, unti-unti nang nakakaya ng na gawin ng mga babae. Ganon din sa mga babae, kayang gawin na ng mga lalaki. So, yun yung nagkakaroon na ng fairness, okay, when it comes to distribution of household chores or work, okay? So, nagkakaroon na ng equality sa society natin. Yan. So, yan ang isa pang ibig sabihin natin when it comes ng gender equality when we put it in a picture. So, yung lalaki at babae ay pantay lamang when it comes to human rights. Okay? One good example would be sa Saudi. I know nung unang mga later lang yun mga taon na 5 years or 10 years ago, ang mga babae sa Saudi ay bawal bumoto at bawal din magmaneho. Nasa bahay lang sila, bawal din silang magtrabaho. Well, for example, dun sa Afghanistan, 'di ba sa Afghanistan, strict sila sa pagiging tawag dito sa religion nila na Islam. So ang mga babae sa kanila ay nasa bahay lang, bawal mag-aral, bawal din tawag dito, bawal din magtrabaho, bawal din bumoto. Okay? So yung ganon. Dati sa society natin ganon, pero ngayon sa society natin nagkaroon na ng equal rights yung mga lalaki at mga babae. Now, gender role, it refers to set of roles, characteristics, and expectations of how a man or woman should feel, think, and act as influenced by parents, peers, and society. So, gender role, ito yung mga siniset na standard ng ating society kung paano ba dapat umarte ang isang babae, paano ba dapat ano ba dapat nararamdaman ng isang babae, ano ba nararamdaman dapat ng isang lalaki. One good example is yung pag-iyak. 'Di ba? Sabi nila ang mga lalaki daw hindi dapat umiiyak. Okay? Kasi lalaki yan, matapang yan. Okay? So, yun yung isang example ng gender role. Another one is yung babae dapat nasa bahay lang. Okay? Yung lalaki dapat nagtatrabaho at nagpo-provide sa pamilya. Okay? Yun yung mga set of roles, characteristics, and expectation na siniset or ng mga social norms na siniset ng society natin. Now, so sexuality towards others, how you see others, think, feel, and love others. It is important to maintain good relationship with others. So, kailangan ang importante din yung makabuo tayo ng magandang relationship, hindi lang towards ourselves, but also to others. Now, we have the dimensions of human sexuality. It's the sum of the cultural and social influences that affect thoughts and actions of an individual. So, ito yung different dimensions ng human sexuality. We have biological dimension, psychological dimension, and socio-cultural dimension. All these dimensions work together to produce an individual's total sexuality. So, kailangan ng biological, psychological, and socio-cultural dimensions. Now, biological dimension involves the physical appearances, especially the development of physical sexual characteristics. Okay? It's a boy or it's a girl. So biological gender, it also involves growth and development in general. So paano ba lumalaki physically? Okay, biologically ang isang lalaki at ang isang babae. Psychological dimension, it is the clearest example of learned aspect of sexuality. So ito yung naman yung attitudes and feelings towards ourselves and other people. Okay, that develop very early in life. From the time we were born, we get signals from all around us telling us how to think and act. 'Di ba yung mga parents natin, pinapalaki tayo ng tama. Okay? Yan yung psychological dimension. Social-cultural dimension, it is the sum of the cultural and social influences that affect our thoughts and action. Okay? Example is yung knowing about the people around you and their family background. So, paano mo nalalaman, okay, paano nakakaapekto yung mga tao sa paligid mo, yung mga bagay sa paligid mo, mga pangyayari sa paligid mo sa iyong thoughts and actions. Now, for lesson 2, we have sexual behavior. Sexual behavior standards are behaviors to come to accepted by society. Ito yung mga behavior na ina-accept ng society natin ngayon. Though unti-unti nang nagkakaroon ng pagkakaiba or nagkakaroon ng acceptance, okay, sa different behaviors natin na na-express. For example, yung gay rights, okay, unti-unti nagkakaroon na ng linaw na yung tawag dito, yung LGBT ay meron na rin silang pinaglalaban. Okay, unti-unti nakikilala sila. Okay? So these are factors that directly affect your attitudes and practices. Now, the social and cultural norms, family, and peers are some of the factors that influence gender roles and sexual behavior. So, yung social and cultural norms, family and peers, sila yung pinaka nakaka-apekto sa mga sexual behavior natin. Okay? So, ito yung mga tao sa paligid natin. Family. Now, family values oftentimes determine your own values. Kasi 'di ba, madalas ang pinaka buong buhay natin, lagi natin kasama mga magulang natin, mga kapatid natin, mga kamag-anak natin. So it describes how your family affects your values regarding the human sexuality. So, kadalasan kung ano yung mga nakikita natin sa pamilya natin, nagagaya natin. Okay? So, kailangan yung family support ay matatag. Okay? Pagdating sa sexual behavior. Now, parental support and monitoring influence the behavior of children. It relates to the quality of parent-child relationship that includes involvement and encouragement in their child's life activities. So, malaking bagay ang parental support sa human sexuality. Lalo-lalo na sa behavior. Culture. Each society, however, interprets sexuality and sexual behavior in different ways. So your cultural background can affect your values regarding your sexuality and dictate what is considered to be acceptable sexual behaviors. For example, your religious commitment is always associated with sexuality, restrictive behaviors. So usually, ay pag sinabi nating kultura, ito yung kultura ng ating society. Okay? So for example, tayo, isa kang kasapi ka ng isang religious group. And then yung religious group na yon meron silang mahigpit na utos or mahigpit na laws regarding sexuality na ang hindi nila tinatanggap yung LGBT. Kumbaga, male and female lang ang alam nila. Okay? So, yun yung isang nakakaapekto sa sexual behavior natin, yung kultura. Okay? Na meron tayo. Okay? Yung religious commitment. Next would be um, yung mga taong nakapaligid sa atin. Okay? So, yung mga taong nakapaligid sa atin, nakaka-apekto yan sa mga values natin regarding sa uh, sexual behavior natin. Peers. Your friends can also have a significant impact on your views on human sexuality. So sabi nga nila, yung mga friends natin, kadalasan sila, di ba merong quote na, tell me who you are, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. Okay? So kung sino yung mga friends natin, nakaka-apekto sila sa mga personality natin. Okay? Usually yung mga lalaki, yan, mga tropa yan. Sila magkakasama, puro lalaki. Okay? Tapos meron din naman mga lalaki na ang gustong barkada puro babae. Meron din naman babae ang gustong barkada puro lalaki. Ayaw na masyadong drama. Meron din naman babae na gusto sama-sama sila puro babae. Okay? So yung peers natin, nagkakaroon sila ng impact sa views natin on human sexuality. So your behavior can be influenced through peer support and peer monitoring. Peer support is an empathic and validating relationship between peers. It helps in decision making. Yan, yung mga peers natin usually, di ba, mga kaibigan natin, sila yung mas nasasabihan natin ng problema. Mas mabilis tayong mag-open sa kanila ng problema unlike sa ibang tao, sa mga kamag-anak natin. Empowerment. Yung mga kaibigan natin, sila yung nagsusupport. Okay? Sila yung mas nagbibigay ng support sa atin. Ito, yung mga panahon sa inyo niyan, yung mga high school days. And also developing awareness. Ito yung nandito kayo sa peer pressure na try natin to, try natin yan. Okay? Kahit hindi tayo nagfe-face to face, yung mga kapitbahay natin na mga kaibigan natin. Okay? Sila yung mga kadalasan nagbibigay niyan. Okay? Nagtutulong sa decision making, empowerment, and developing awareness. Peer monitoring naman occurs when there's observable and responded peer behavior. Okay? It usually takes place between persons who had lived through specific experiences. They show interest and capacity to help others. Pag peer monitoring, usually meron kang kaibigan na mas matanda, okay? Mas matanda sa'yo and mas mas marami nang na-experience. For example, yung mas close ka sa tito-tita mo, okay? Mas close ka sa kuya mo na nasa college na, okay? So, yung peer monitoring, ayan yung tawag dito, na ilalabas mo yung mga bagay na tawag dito na gusto mong ilabas sa kanila and then nabibigyan kanila ng payo. So, yun yung peer monitoring. Media, okay? Yung media, it plays a significant role in our lives as we regularly watch television shows, listen to radio, browse the internet and social media sites, and read newspaper. So it allows you to create illusions that sometimes affect your attitudes and practices. It also affects some of your decisions related to sexuality as well as sexual behaviors, be it positive or negative. Okay? So, hindi ko alam kung napanood niyo yung Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. Okay, sa Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, meron doon isang character, si Cho Hui, lesbian siya. So, hindi siya tanggap ng mga magulang niya, kaya siya umalis. Okay? So, doon pa lang sa scene na yon, makikita natin na yung kultura ng ano, ng Korea hindi pa tanggap talaga yung LGBT. Okay? Pero sa atin, sa different social media, ay sa different medias na ginagawa, sa TV, sa radio, sa internet, sa social media, 'di ba? Marami na tayong makikita na mga ah, Pride Month, okay? Marami na rin diyan ng LGBT rights, okay? Advocates. So, yun yung mga tawag dito, yun yung isa sa mga nakakaapekto, yung mga lagi nating binabasa sa internet or yung mga pinapanood natin. Now, for lesson 3, we have attitudes that affect sexuality. Ito yung mga attitudes, okay? Mga pag-uugali na nakakaapekto sa sexuality. So we all encounter people in our lives. So health attitudes refers to the person's beliefs and actions regarding their health and well-being and sometimes influence their sexual behaviors. So here are some personality traits or attitudes that really influences sexual behavior. Una is yung mga show-offs. Yan. So these people who would like to be the center of attraction whenever possible. Ito yung mga tao na laging pag lalabas lang gayak na gayak. Yung mga tao na gusto nila sila yung bangka, sila yung bida. Okay? So ito yung mga tao na laging gusto nila nasa center of attraction sila. Lagi silang bida. Okay? So, be it positive or negative, ganyan yung mga tao na ina-express yung sarili nila. Okay? It's up to you on how you would um, interact or how would you tawag dito, how would you interact or how would you befriend a person whose attitude or personality is a show off. Pero mababait naman yan mga yan. Yun lang, syempre, gusto nila bida sila. Warriors. Now, warriors, people who worry about everything. Meron ba kayong kaibigan na ganyan? Or meron ba kayong kakilala na ganyan na tao na lahat na lang inisip, lahat na lang inalala o lahat na lang ay pinoproblema? Okay. Ultimo yata pagbabakuna, pinoblema niya. Ultimo yata yung pagsasaing or yung problema ng kapitbahay, pinoproblema niya. So, ito yung mga tao na laging nag-a-accept. Okay? Sila yung laging malungkot, laging depressed. Okay? Kasi tsaka yung mga tao na pag sinabihan mo ng problema, namomroblema din kagaya mo. Okay? So, sila yung mga worriers. Oh, yan. Ito, marami yan. Usong-uso. Gossip mongers. Now, gossip mongers, these are people who spread rumors and often exaggerate information. Ito yung mga marites. Okay? Yan yung mga marites natin. Okay? Ito yung mga nagkakalat ng chismis. Minsan yung chismis ay hindi naman totoo, minsan exaggerated. Huy, alam mo ba? Si ganito, si ganyan. Okay? Pag alam mo na, syempre ikaw naman, chismosang ano ka rin, isa ka ring mosang. So, ikaw naman, oh talaga, ganyan, ganyan. Talaga, so yung mga kaibigan natin na pag ang simula ay, alam mo ba, si ganito. Syempre, ikaw, makukuha naman yung attention mo. Okay? Though masaya silang kausap, tatandaan natin that gossip mongers are, tawag dito, ganyan nila in-express yung sarili nila. It's up to you on how you will um, screen the information if it's fake or true. Okay? Sabi nga ni, sino nga yun? Yung namatay, si Eddie Gutierrez tuloy, sorry. Eddie Garcia, nung namatay siya. Pag may mga chismis daw siyang natatanggap, or meron daw siyang mga balitang hindi natatanggap, he keep it to himself. Okay? He keep it to himself na sa kanya lang. Okay? Hindi niya na kinakalat. Okay, so kung ikaw, isang tao kang ganun na nasasabihan ka ng mga kaibigan mo ng mga chismis, dapat yung chismis na yon, kung ikaw, sarili mo lang yon. Hindi mo na dapat kinakalat. Kasi pag kinalat mo yon, edi isa ka ring gossip monger, isa ka ring marites. Okay, kasapi ka rin ni senyora. Tsarek. Okay, next. Bullies, yan. These are people who use threats, fear, and cruelty to control others. Okay? So bullies, ito medyo hindi naman natin nararanasan ngayon kasi tayo ay nasa online. Siguro naman wala naman sa inyo nang bubuli online. Okay. Pero nung may face-to-face, usually yan, meron yan. Marami yan sa Arroyo. Maraming mga bullies. Okay? These are people who use threats and fear and cruelty to control others. Yung mga nananakot. Ako, asar na asar ako dyan sa mga bully. Alam ng mga estudyante ko yan. Ako lang ang bully sa klase. So, ito yung mga tao na may nararanasan sa mga sarili nila. Okay? Ito yung mga tao na once na sa bahay siguro nila hindi sila gano'n napapansin or dahil may naranasan silang hindi maganda kaya pinapasa nila sa iba o kaya yun lang yung talagang way nila to express themselves. Okay? Pero may mga bully naman na pag nakilala mo sila, mabait naman talaga sila. Okay? So, pero tatandaan, bullying is bad. Okay? Lalong-lalo na ngayon, cyberbullying. Hindi dapat kayo nagkukomento ng hindi maganda. Always think before you click sa social media. Whiners. Now, whiners, these are people who grumble and complain about everything. Meron ka bang kaibigan na ganyan? Lahat na lang ng problema. Lahat na lang ng pinoblema, kinumplain niya. Lahat na lang meron siyang masasabi. Kahit maganda, may masasabi pa rin. Alam mo yun, wala kang maririnig na maganda sa kanya, pero lahat, puro pangit ang naririnig mo. Okay, kahit maganda yung nangyari sa mga kaibigan nyo. Kunyari, tatlo kayong magkaibigan, tapos isang kaibigan nyo ay nakabili ng iPhone 13. Ay yung isang mong kaibigan, ano ba yan? Nakabili-bili siya ng iPhone 13 pero yung mga dami-dami naman yung utang, ganyan-ganyan. So yan yung mga whiners. Okay? Yan yung mga tao na lagi na lang complain ng complain. Yan yung mga tao na parang nakakaasar kasama kasi lahat na lang negative. Okay? Parang hindi na lang sila naging masaya para sa iba. Okay? Later in life, makakakilala kayo ng mga tao na mga ganyan. Show off, whiners, gossip mongers, tapos yung isa pa. Okay? So later in life, as you go on with your life, marami kayong makikilala at iba't ibang klase ng tao. Tatandaan nyo, meron at meron kayong makikilalang ganyan. Now, good health requires a positive attitude. It's up to you to decide to make the most of things when you are faced with health challenges. Okay? Decision making. Okay? Depende pa rin yun sa inyo kung paano kayo magde-decide. Okay? Kung natanggap nyo ay negative na attitude, paano mo tatanggapin yung negative na attitude na yun nang pinakita sa'yo? Okay? Or nakapagpakita ka ng negative na attitude, bakit ka ba nakapagpakita ng negative na attitude? Okay? Ano bang nangyari sa'yo? Ano bang ginawa mo? Or ano bang ginawa sa'yo? Now, this attitude, a good health mindset, doesn't just happen. You have to develop support system of family, friends, and health professionals. So, tatandaan natin that support system ng family natin dapat mas maganda. Okay? Ang pinaka dapat nag-open tayo sa mga magulang natin bago sa mga kaibigan natin. Sa friends natin, dapat meron tayong supportive friends. And of course, health professionals, even your teachers, even kay Sir Tengco. You can always open up with your problems. Ready namang makinig si Sir sa inyo. Now, lesson 4 will be dealing with the importance of sexuality to family health. Now, importance of sexuality, una is defines the means of biological reproduction, kung paano ka ba lalaki or babae, mag-aasawa ka ba, okay, or hindi ka mag-aasawa. Next, describes the psychological and sociological representations of self. Okay, paano mo na-express yung sarili mo, tawag dito, emotionally and mentally. Or yan sa person's attraction to others. Okay, paano ka ba attracted? Mas na-attract ka ba sa mga lalaki? Lalaki ka na na-attract ka sa mga lalaki or lalaki ka na na-attract sa mga babae? It's okay. Tatandaan, pinag-aaralan natin yung human sexuality para ma-develop sa atin ang respect towards others. Okay, hindi natin sila dapat ginajudge as kung wala naman silang ginagawang masama. So some little tips to stay sexually healthy. Una is eat healthy. Sexuality is a reflection of one general state of health. Number 2 is avoid smoking. Yan. Meron tayong lesson or quarter na will be dealing with cigarette smoking. So, avoid smoking. Kahit na pinupwersa kayo ng mga kaibigan nyo na, oh, try mo naman to. Avoid that. Okay? Stay away from those people. Now, those friends of yours ay hindi sila nakakatulong sa sarili mo. Okay? Sinisira ka lang nila. Tatandaan, may mga bagay na kung alam mong tama, dapat hindi at ginagawa mo. Kung alam mong mali, dapat hindi mo ginagawa. Sundin dapat lagi kung ano yung tama. Number three, limit your alcohol consumption. Ito, nakalagay limit lang. Okay? Wala namang problema kung you will try to um you will try to to drink alcohol. Okay? Alcohol tuloy. Yung mga alcoholic drinks. Yun, tama. Alcoholic drinks. Pero, make sure that you're in the right age and kung sino yung kasama mo. Kasi sa edad natin, dapat hindi pa tayo nagko-consume ng nag-alcoholic beverages. Kasi bata pa tayo eh. Ang sinisira ng alcohol beverages ay yung atay natin or liver. Once na nasira yan, wala pa pong liver transplant sa Pilipinas. May kaibigan ako na namatay, parang 3 weeks lang namatay, kasi nagkaroon siya ng liver failure. Eh wala naman liver transplant sa Pilipinas. Eh di ayun, tegi siya. Okay? So, make sure na bago kayo ano sa tawag dito, mag-consume ng alcoholic beverages, make sure that you're in the right age at kung sino yung man yung kasama nyo. Okay? So, hindi pa pwede. Okay? Hindi pa pwede. Number 4, communicate with your partner or friends or relatives. Okay? Communication, okay, is a way to stay sexually healthy. Of course, protect yourself. Okay? You will not um, protect yourself from the dangers of others. Okay? Laging, 'di ba, sabi nga natin kanina sa total self, unang-una is self-love, self-respect. Okay? Yung self-love mo muna, unahin mo munang mahalin yung sarili mo bago mo mahalin yung ibang tao. Kasi kapag hindi ka pwedeng magmahal ng sira ka, o hindi ka pwedeng magmahal ng hindi ka kumpleto. Kung mahal mo yung sarili mo, pwede mong ibigay yung pagmamahal na yun sa iba. Cheesy. Wisit. Okay, so yun lang. So announcement na lang tayo. So, I know that this is a recorded lesson kasi November 1, um, tawag dito, walang klase. Okay, so, pero pwede nyo siyang panoorin dito sa YouTube. Okay, panoorin nyo na lang siya, yung lesson. You jot down the important details. Okay? So, quiz about lesson 1 to 4 ay ipopost ko sa Google Classroom. It's a 10-item or 20 items quiz about lesson 1 to 4. Okay? So, lahat ng PTAS should be submitted this week until Friday, November 4 lang. Okay? After that, um, I will not entertain late submission. Okay? So, yung quiz natin pala sa lesson 1 to 4, it would be your class participation for this week. Okay? So, ayun lang. So, maraming salamat. I hope you enjoy. Have a safe weekend. Be productive. And always, dito nga sa lesson natin sa health about human sexuality, always respect. Okay? Always show respect to others. Hindi ka naman lumalabas para ituro yung mga tao, uy, bakla, uy, tomboy. Hindi naman ganun, di ba? If you know the sexuality of someone, you keep it to yourself. Okay? Kung alam mo medyo feminine siya, medyo lalamya-lamya, or medyo tomboy-tomboy siya, you keep it to yourself. Hindi mo na kailangang ikalat pa yun. Okay? May mga bagay na dapat sa atin na lang. So, okay. So, tatandaan lang din, self-love. Okay? Kung mahal natin ang sarili natin, una nating mahalin ang sarili natin bago tayo magmahal ng iba. Okay? Tatandaan yan. Okay, sige. So, yun lang. Have a safe day. Ingat kayo lagi. Practice minimum health protocols. Huwag masyadong lumabas. Iwasan na muna lumabas ngayon kasi halos lahat ng tao lumalabas. Okay. Sige, yun lang. Paalam. Goodbye.